Hello everyone and welcome now to Game 2 in the series. Game 2 between Adel and NrSroof here on Daybreak. Adel has spawned as the orange Protoss player on the bottom left hand side of the map. NrSroof has spawned as the purple Zerg on the top right hand side of the map. Protoss versus Zerg on a map here, Daybreak, a map that generally favors Zerg overall, and we'll see if that continues to be the case as Game 2 gets underway. Now, Adel in Game 1 didn't open up with a Forge Fast expansion as I had originally thought. Instead, he opened up with a much more traditional gateway, assimilator, pylon, cybernetics core build that allowed him to scout out relatively early. He was able to shut down a third base very quickly with a lot of gateways off of two bases, and even though NrSroof was set up to hit maximum supply at about 12 to 14 minutes, Adel made sure that that never ever happened. We'll see if NrSroof will be nearly as greedy here in Game 2, as it looks like he should be going at least for a 15 hatchery, but beyond that, I'm not 100% sure. Now, we are going to see Adel open up with another gateway here. Gateway assimilator should be coming online in just a moment. Meanwhile, NrSroof, is he going for that spawning pool or is he going to go for a hatchery? It looks like it is going to be a spawning pool. The drone making its way down here and going to be waiting for that final 60 or 80 resources. Now, one thing I want to say is Adel didn't really do a lot of scouting in Game 1. He didn't take that starting probe. He didn't try to scout out across the map. And some players may be wondering, why isn't Adel actually trying to scout? Well, every minute that a probe or any worker is away is actually 40 resources lost. Now, if you think about it in terms of timing, if that probe is out and about trying to scout, that could be about 80 resources down. That is also going to affect a lot of the timings here, as Adel is setting up that cybernetics core perhaps 5 to 10 seconds faster than he normally would have been able to if he had tried to scout. Now, he is setting up the second assimilator, which always makes me wonder. Normally, you see the second assimilator being established if you want to go for a very, very tech-heavy build. Adel instead actually went for a very heavy sentry build in order to get a lot of force fields early on, and then just utilized force field with sentries and then zealot stalker to deal with any early aggression. You can once again see NrSroof establishing up this third base before the 4-minute mark. And when I say before the 4-minute mark, it's almost right or almost before the 3-minute mark. So NrSroof is once again being very, very greedy. One zealot will be making a move out, but stopping along the way to take down a lowered supply depot before doing anything else. We are now seeing Adel harvest a lot of gas right now. He's sitting on about 100 gas, still could go into an additional building, but I believe he's just going to continue to train up a lot of sentries until he actually feels comfortable. Are we going to see a nexus first and then perhaps some sentries? I believe that to be the case. There is the probe, there's that nexus. Sentry is going to finish the job here as the zealots are now moving out to do their scout. Now, NrSroof is going to have a very similar problem as he did in Game 1, where he may not be able to get units down here to defend. This 3 o'clock location is rather far, especially with a long walk between these two bases here without creep. Queens will not be able to make that treacherous journey until they go into slow motion walking for quite some time, and we are going to see this zealot quickly spot out this hatchery here. The zealot did decide to back off. All he wanted to know was, are you building that third base? And if you built it early, what can I expect to see from you? We are going into a Twilight Council, which makes me believe that Adel wants to go Zealot Archon. Zealot Archon is going to be very effective, especially utilizing those sentries, as those Archons are able to destroy all of those force fields that are warped in. Let's take a look back in the base. Metabolic boost about to be completed. This front door not yet done at all, as we are seeing 3 additional gateways now finishing. There is a Dark Shrine. Wait, Dark Shrine was not something that I would actually have predicted. I would have thought more of the High Templars being added, but this is a very, very safe call, especially in Wings of Liberty. Now, in Heart of the Swarm, all you need in order to build a Spore Crawler is a spawning pool. You do not need an evolution chamber, meaning that early detection is much more available to all of the races. If SrooF does suspect that there are going to be Dark Templar, he can easily build a Spore Crawler or two and defend. Spore Crawlers do root relatively quickly, so mobile turret, or a mobile turret that is a detector, very effective as SrooF now wandering around the map. This Zergling push should end up getting pushed back though, and by those Dark Templars, as we see what a couple sentries. Oh, are they going to get surrounded? Oh yes they are, but some force fields do come into play. Zergling's now trying to finish off some of those units. It looks like some sentries will get taken down, and Adel completely fighting in a very bad location here, getting caught in a bad situation, getting caught in transit. One sentry is all essentially that is left. The Zealots are trying to fight this back, but I believe this is all going to simply just get cleaned up. That one sentry pushed up against a corner and now finally will get taken down by those last few Zerglings. We are going to see an attack on the front door, but a Congo line of Zealots in position to make sure that those Zerglings are unable to get by, as the Dark Templars are now reaching across the map. Spore Crawlers are already being added here, and SrooF responding very well. You're going to see double Spore Crawlers, 2 Spore Crawlers at each of the more forward bases, and only 1 Spore Crawler at the one base that is furthest back. Zerglings now spreading themselves out, trying to see where they can go. We can see that there is a Roach Warren now being established, and here is that Spore Crawler, and I believe that Dark Templar will simply get taken down. Adel pretty much running into some very bad luck here, as those Spore Crawlers are already in position, and another Dark Templar has been taken out. Alright, this is the situation where I really think Roach or Zealot Archon would have been the better choice. Those Dark Templars didn't do much of anything, just was a quick loss of resources, as we now see about an 800 resource difference in terms of losses. SrooF now making their way over to this third base. We see a 59 drone to 51 probe advantage for Zerg, as SrooF decides not to take down that one particular nexus. Zergling's now getting caught in a very bad position. I believe the Zealots do not have weapons upgrade, so they are not going to be able to one-shot any of those, or sorry, two-shot any of those Zerglings at all. The Zerglings traveling all the way back home. They are going to just simply regroup together, and where will they strike next? SrooF with a 16 supply advantage, which is about on par for what Zerg normally has over Protoss at this point. But more importantly, Adel is just now getting the level 1 ground weapons upgrades. Those upgrades are very important, especially when going up against Zerglings with Zealots, as it makes them 50%, I believe, 50% more efficient? Or 33% more efficient? Don't quite remember how the math works on that, but we are now seeing both sides still expanding even further. So SrooF now sitting on 50 or 65 drones, and looks like he will continue to do so, droning up very heavily, and as soon as he is now running up on 4 bases, he should be able to replenish his army with no trouble and no effort at all. Now this is the tournament edition of Daybreak, meaning that there's only one rich Vespian Geyser down over here, as opposed to a standard 2 gas. That does favor things in a little bit for Adel, as normally Zerg players are the ones that are a bit more gas starved. Adel, a quick thing to note, has a whole bunch of chrono boost on his Nexus, and he's not really doing much with it. There's a lot of things that he could be producing or researching and training to get done slightly faster. Stalkers, sentries, and zealots now sitting in the center. Adel, I believe he did go for that Twilight Council. Yes, he went double Twilight Council, in fact. A real big waste of resources, as we are now going into the Infestor Broodlord combination from SrooF. SrooF, oh, Infestor's getting caught out of position. No fungal growths actually to be laid down, and now force fields to reinforce. Very nicely done, as we may see this Overseer getting taken down. No, Overseer gonna stay alive. Force fields were enough there. SRoof losing perhaps a little bit more than he would have liked to. Infestors are units that you do not want to lose. They are very gas intensive, and anytime you can get a fungal growth off and deal some damage, that is what exactly you want and need to do. Adel has just been countering this with very well placed force fields continually. And with very, very strong force fields, it does limit the amount of damage that these infestors and zerglings can do. We are now sitting at 6 infestors so far. Units are now simply grouped together off over here. SRoof may try to orchestrate an attack in the next couple of minutes or so, as we now see another base being established by Adel. I like the choice of this base. This base means that Adel's trying to be aggressive, since he is starting to actually expand to his opponent, as opposed to trying to take this base off over here. Zerglings now just dancing around infestors, raring to go. And it's going to come down to who has the better positioning and who has the better flank. We are going into a couple of corruptors. And without Colossi, those Corruptors can easily morph into Broodlords without sacrificing any of the rest of the units on the field. Extended thermal lance range is being researched, and we are also seeing a Stargate for perhaps that mothership and that Archon toilet. We will need to see if it is followed up by a Twilight Council, as the Zerglings are now making their way in. Many of those units are, however, caught on the wrong side, unable to make their way through. Zerglings now trying to just finish this off. Infestors need to make their way over as the Stalkers are blinking back. Infestors are now making their way in, and SRoof just coming in slightly premature before the Broodlords are ready with a whole bunch of infested Terrans. And there you go. It looks like one observer will get taken down as well. Down they go, and now all SRoof really did was he is trading energy on a group of infestors for a whole bunch of units. There's a fungal growth. Zerglings could make their way around. Roach is going to clean up the rest of these stalkers with the help of some Zerglings, and now all of these infested Terrans have gone down. There is still one Dark Templar hiding off over here. Not quite sure what damage or how much damage he was able to do, as SRoof is now sitting on a 60% supply advantage. Alright, Harvester count 67 versus 78, 4375 versus 1250 in terms of mineral count on that army, and this Colossus may simply just be too little too late. We are going into level 3 melee attack upgrades, meaning that those Broodlings will be dealing a lot more damage than those Broodlords themselves if they stay alive that long. Infestor is now on the move. There is that another Broodlord. Broodlord count is now up to only 3, as we are starting to go into Colossi. Fleet Beacon now being added. We should be getting up that mothership as well. And with one robotics facility, he's not going to really be able to train up 5 Colossi that quickly. He's going to have to take his time, and he's going to really have to cherish those Colossi if he is perhaps a little bit too... perhaps if he overextends too much with those Colossi, he may find himself a bit behind, as the drones and Broodlords are still being added here. Infestor Broodlord going to be a very strong combination. Fungal growth, infested Terrans, and also those Broodlords with Broodlings cause so much damage and have so much range and control that most Zerg players do enjoy getting to the late game. Now it is going to be up to the Protoss. Will he be able to get off those Archons and get a good number of Broodlords in those Archons with those Archons in the Vortex? We now see a flank come in from the top over here. Zerglings unable to make their way in, as the Zealot is just simply lying in wait, trying to slice through many of those Zerglings, able to do exactly that. The Zerglings are not upgraded at all, as the one Zealot has pretty much held his own against about 22 Zerglings and finished them all off. We are now going into more Broodlords still. We have about 7 supply left. Is it going to be enough? Roach is now scampering off over here. Can they take down any of these key buildings? That is the question. If the Roaches perhaps can even take down even this pylon, it will slow down the reinforcements while hopefully being out of the range of Adel's units. We now see Adel completely catching up, and now surpassing his opponent in terms of supply. But will SRoof be able to get enough Broodlords? Let's take a look at army compositions, and this is where we see something completely different. A 2,000, or excuse me, almost a 6,000 resource difference when you consider the amount of gas in the army as well. Nine Broodlords, ground carapace now being added. We are going into 4 corruptors. Is that going to be enough? This is a whole bunch of infestors. We are now adding in a whole bunch of spine crawlers, and these spine crawlers may simply be too much, as there is that fungal growth. Another fungal growth could be coming in. Nope, no additional fungal growth, as a zealot is getting picked apart rather easily. Down go the rest of those broodlings there, as the mothership now attempting to escort the rest of these units. Down over here we see a wall of zealots going up against a wall of Zerglings, and the Zerglings with, I believe, superior upgrades does come out on top, especially with roaches behind to reinforce. Alright, it looks like Adel may be trying to establish up another base over here on the top left. Will these Zerglings perhaps be able to make it inside? No, they will not. Getting completely sliced and diced, one-shotted by a Colossus. 42 damage, minus 6, I believe is 36. And that is enough to take down this attack here. Overseers are in position. What is happening? There is a vortex. A whole bunch of units did go inside. And there is the wall of infested Terran to protect against those Archon toilets. Beautifully done, beautifully placed. Is it going to be enough, as the infestors are just walling off? And here we go. What's going to be happening next? Are we going to see a fungal growth? Broodlords are still continuing to attack, and SRoof actually taking a lot of damage here. Archon's trying to attack, and it looks like SRoof does have enough Broodlords to hold this off. The Queens are nearby as well, and SRoof, with a whole bunch of infestors, should be able to just fungal growth and finish off this army here. And it really came down to those infested Terrans blocking the path of that mothership. Alright, the units are on the move. Are the infestors perhaps going to be able to get off any damage or any shots here? There is some detection. Their stalkers are now trying to do something, but the roaches should be able to finish us off here. Infestors are still nearby. More and more Broodlords dropping off their broodlings. Queens now coming in with transfusions. And 11 Broodlords just simply making the trek across the map. Should be able to finish this in just a moment. There goes that last mothership. Down it goes. All the probes are trying to retreat, but I believe Adel is just going to have to give the GG here. Simply too many units, and now that the line has been broken, now that the line's been broken, this is just going to be a very, very sad day for Adel. SRoof now just able to train up a lot more units. You can see 42 larvae with a whole bunch of minerals and gas still, and Adel still complaining about the lag. We saw the lag in game 1. And apparently the lag had a bigger effect here in game 2. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Hope you guys enjoyed game 2. Please stay tuned for game 3 as we go to the deciding match between Adel and SRoof.